Part 1. My wife's business trip was a luxury cult retreat, and I was the target. My wife's business trip wasn't business at all. It was a luxury cult retreat, and I was never supposed to find out. I need to start from the night everything unraveled, because if I just tell you straight what I discovered, it'll sound insane. Even now, months later, I still replay that moment in my head. The soft glow of her phone on the nightstand, the vibration that woke me, and the one notification that cracked my world in half. Reminder: Path of Ascension Retreat. Location details attached. It didn't look like a work calendar entry. Not at all. No client name, no project title, no hotel chain. Just that one phrase, Path of Ascension. It felt ominous. I sat up in bed, staring at the words. My wife, Emily, stirred beside me, mumbling in her sleep. I told myself I was being paranoid, that it was just some corporate self-help seminar or a wellness spa with a pretentious name. But something about the word ascension stuck in my chest like a splinter. The next morning, I tried to act normal. Over coffee, I casually asked, "Big trip coming up?" Emily barely looked up from her phone. "Yeah, just another client retreat. You know how it is." She smiled, too quick, too smooth, almost rehearsed. I laughed it off, but deep inside, unease bloomed. I had always been the trusting husband. For over 10 years, I never snooped, never questioned. She traveled a lot for work, at least once every 2 months, and always came back glowing, relaxed, almost euphoric. I used to tease her that her company must secretly own the world's best spas. She'd laugh and kiss me, deflecting with a joke. But that day, for the first time, I watched her pack. I noticed things I hadn't before: silk robes, white linen dresses, a leather-bound notebook. Nothing about it screamed business. Nothing except the laptop she tossed in as an afterthought. That night, after she fell asleep, I gave in to a temptation I never thought I'd have. I unzipped her suitcase. Inside, carefully folded, was a silk robe embroidered with a golden sun. Beneath it, a journal, its cover embossed with strange circular patterns that looked like a blend of astrology and alchemy. And then, tucked into the side pocket, an envelope. Thick, expensive paper, sealed with wax. My hands trembled as I broke it open. "Dearest Sister Helena, the Path of Ascension welcomes you back. Your devotion is seen. Your sacrifice is honored. This retreat marks your 10th year of service. Your preparation is nearly complete. Soon, you will be ready to offer him. Helena," not Emily. I sat frozen on the floor, the words blurring before my eyes. I read them again and again. Who the hell was Helena? And what did offer him mean? My wife had a secret name, a secret life, and apparently a secret mission. I stuffed everything back, zipped the suitcase, and climbed into bed, heart hammering so hard I thought it would wake her. She stirred, murmured, "Love you," and curled against me. I whispered back automatically, but inside, a storm had started. Over the next week, I became a detective in my own home. Every time she left the room, I checked her phone. Password protected, of course. But she trusted me too much. Her passcode was our wedding date. My hands shook the first time I typed it in, half hoping it wouldn't work. It did. Her emails were strange. Most were clean, professional. But then I found an inbox folder hidden under a filter called Travel. Inside were dozens of encrypted-looking messages, full of flowery, almost biblical language. The sun watches. The vessel prepares. He is nearly ripe. Your loyalty will be rewarded. He must be made to see. The union was no accident. The path chose him through you. The union was no accident. I felt my blood turn cold. Were they talking about our marriage? Did this cult plan me? I wanted to confront her right then, but fear held me back. Fear that if I pushed too hard, I'd lose the only chance I had to figure out what the hell was going on. So instead, I played the role of clueless husband. I kissed her goodbye at the airport, told her to enjoy her business trip, and smiled while she waved back. Then I followed her. Not directly. I wasn't reckless. I waited an hour, then booked a last-minute flight to the same city she was headed, Santa Barbara. Her conference was supposedly at a downtown hotel, but I didn't see her at the check-in desk. Instead, after hours of lurking in the lobby, I spotted her outside, slipping into a sleek black shuttle with tinted windows. I grabbed a rental car and tailed them up winding coastal roads until the shuttle turned into an iron-gated estate. My jaw dropped. It wasn't a hotel. It wasn't even a resort in the normal sense. It was a sprawling villa on a cliffside, glowing with lanterns, fountains, gardens manicured within an inch of perfection. Dozens of people in flowing white robes walked the grounds, their laughter drifting in the night air. It looked like something out of a cult documentary. And there she was, Emily, or Helena. She stepped out of the shuttle smiling like I hadn't seen in years, embraced by a group of women who kissed her cheeks, whispered into her ear, and led her toward the villa. She looked radiant, almost worshipped. I parked down the road, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. My wife wasn't at a corporate retreat. She was part of this, and not just part of it. From the way they treated her, she was someone important. I drove back to my motel in a daze. Sleep was impossible. I kept seeing her face, that glowing smile, that robe embroidered with the golden sun. The phrase, "Your preparation is nearly complete," echoed in my head until sunrise. The next day, I returned with binoculars. From the hills, I watched ceremonies on the lawn. Circles of chanting, offerings of fruit and wine, hands lifted toward the rising sun. And Emily, no, Helena, always at the center, always leading or being led. At night, the villa lit up with golden candles. I saw masked figures dancing around a fire pit, their movements hypnotic, almost mechanical. And in the middle of them, my wife donned a silver crown shaped like rays of light. That was when I realized this wasn't just some cult she was attending. She was high-ranking, maybe even royalty among them. I nearly vomited when I overheard a phrase carried by the wind. Helena's husband, the vessel, he arrives soon. They were talking about me. Suddenly, everything made sense. The cryptic emails, the obsession with union, the talk of offering him. Our marriage wasn't just love. It was strategy, a setup. She didn't marry me because she loved me. She married me because her cult wanted me. My hands shook so badly, I nearly dropped the binoculars. I stumbled back to the car, my mind racing with horror. All the years we spent together, the holidays, the private jokes, the quiet mornings making pancakes, had they all been fake? Was she ever truly my wife? Or just Helena playing a role, waiting for the day I'd be ripe? That night, I couldn't breathe. I locked the motel door, shoved a chair under the handle, and sat in the dark, replaying every memory of our marriage, dissecting every moment for signs I'd missed. Had she ever really loved me? Or had I been a mark from the very beginning? By the time she returned home a week later, glowing as always, suitcase in hand, I could barely look at her. She kissed me like nothing had changed, asked about my week, teased me for eating frozen pizza again. I nodded, smiled, played along. But inside, I was already broken. Because I knew the truth now. My wife wasn't just cheating on me with some cult. She was preparing me, grooming me, and if I didn't figure out exactly what they wanted with me, I was next. Part 2. My wife's business trip was a luxury cult retreat, and I was the target. When Emily returned from her so-called business trip, I could barely hold myself together. She breezed into the house with the same effortless grace, kissed me like nothing had changed, and dropped her suitcase by the door. I stood there, smiling weakly, pretending everything was fine while my insides twisted. I wanted to scream, to grab her shoulders and demand, "Who the hell is Helena? What are you doing in that villa? Why am I the vessel?" But I didn't. I couldn't. If I confronted her too soon, she'd know I'd been spying. And if what I suspected was true, that my entire marriage was a setup orchestrated by her cult, then I wasn't just a husband. I was prey. So I played along. That first night back, she curled against me in bed, her skin warm, her breath steady. I stared at the ceiling, wide awake, every cell in my body screaming with unease. When she whispered, "I missed you," I almost laughed. Missed me? Or missed the role she had to keep playing? The next day, while she was out running errands, I broke the one rule I had sworn never to break in our marriage. I opened her laptop. Her password was harder to guess than her phone's. It wasn't our wedding date this time. It wasn't her birthday or mine. After an hour of failed attempts, I nearly gave up until I remembered the leather-bound journal in her suitcase. On its cover, the symbol of a golden sun. I typed "golden sun" into the field. The screen unlocked. My stomach dropped. Her desktop was obsessively neat, only a handful of folders. But one was labeled simply, "Work." I opened it. Inside were subfolders, clients, invoices, reports. Boring, ordinary, almost too ordinary. Then I noticed something strange. Each folder had duplicates, but slightly misspelled. Clients, envios, reports, subtle enough to overlook. I opened clients. Instead of spreadsheets, I found scanned letters written on thick stationery, the same kind as the invitation I had found in her suitcase. Each one addressed to Sister Helena. I clicked through them, heart pounding. The vessel remains ignorant. Your patience is commendable. His bloodline carries the mark. The union sanctifies the path. You will guide him to the threshold. Do not waver. Your loyalty ensures our future. I scrolled further, nauseated. Some of the letters included photographs, candles, circles of robed figures, a stone altar surrounded by golden bowls, and in the center of one photo, my wife, kneeling, head bowed, as though in worship. But the worst was a document titled, "The Offering." It was pages long, filled with rituals, prayers, and, chillingly, my name. Over and over again, my name woven into sentences like, "He will become the vessel. Their marriage is the bridge. Through him, we ascend." My skin went cold. I wanted to slam the laptop shut, pretend I never saw it. But I couldn't look away. I had to know how deep this went. I clicked through more folders. Videos this time. Grainy recordings of retreats. Dozens of people chanting in unison, swaying in circles. A voice booming. The sun watches. The vessel rises. In one clip, Emily, Helena, stood before the crowd, dressed in a shimmering robe, her arms raised. And then, with a radiant smile, she announced my name. The crowd erupted in cheers. I dropped the laptop, my pulse thundering. They weren't just planning to recruit me. They were celebrating me already. The following days were torture. Every word she spoke, every smile, every touch, tainted. I wanted to believe there was some explanation. that maybe she'd been brainwashed, manipulated, caught in something bigger than herself. But every time I remembered her face in those videos, calm, confident, proud, I doubted it. Still, I couldn't let her suspect I knew. So I became an actor in my own home, laughing when she joked, asking about her day, kissing her forehead before bed, all while the evidence burned a hole in my memory. Then one afternoon, while unloading groceries, I saw it. A package addressed not to Emily Carter, but to Helena S. No return address. The handwriting precise, almost ritualistic. "Who's Helena?" I asked, keeping my voice light. She froze for a fraction of a second before laughing. "Oh, that's, just a nickname from college. Some friends still use it." She snatched the package from my hands, too quickly, and carried it upstairs. I waited until she was in the shower. Then I crept into the bedroom and sliced the package open. Inside was another robe, pure white, embroidered with gold thread. But this one was different. Larger, masculine, and stitched across the chest, in ornate letters, was my name. I nearly dropped it. My legs went weak. I shoved it back, taped the box closed, and stumbled out of the room just as the shower turned off. That night, she was sweeter than ever, making my favorite dinner, pouring me wine, resting her hand on mine across the table. And all I could think was, she's preparing me. Sleep became impossible. Every creak of the house made me jolt. I started locking the bedroom door at night, lying that I'd heard something outside. She teased me, called me paranoid. But I saw the flicker in her eyes, suspicion. One evening, I came home earlier than expected. She was in the study, headphones on, whispering into her laptop camera. I stayed hidden, straining to hear. "He is almost ready." "No, he suspects nothing." "Yes, the next retreat. I will guide him myself." My blood ran cold. I stepped back quietly, heart slamming against my ribs, and slipped out the front door. I couldn't face her. Not with that knowledge. Not yet. I drove aimlessly for hours, ending up in a diner on the edge of town. Staring at my reflection in the greasy window, I barely recognized myself. Hollow eyes, trembling hands. I wasn't just married to a liar. I was married to a recruiter, and I was running out of time. Over the next week, I began digging deeper. I hacked into her hidden emails, copying them onto a flash drive. I followed her once, trailing her car to a suburban storage unit. Through the slats of the door, I saw shelves stacked with boxes, robes, candles, books bound in leather. She wheeled a crate inside, humming softly, before locking the unit and driving off. When she was gone, I picked the lock. My hands shook as I pulled the door open. The air smelled of incense and dust. Inside were dozens of boxes, each labeled with dates and strange symbols. I opened one. Inside were photos. Photos of me, sleeping, working in the yard, talking to friends. Hundreds of them, spanning years. Every angle of my life documented. I staggered back, ball rising in my throat. My entire marriage had been surveillance. She hadn't just been my wife. She'd been my handler. I stuffed a handful of photos into my pocket and fled, locking the unit behind me. When I got home, she was waiting, smiling, dinner on the table. But her eyes lingered on me a little too long. "Rough day?" she asked. "Yeah," I croaked, forcing a smile. "Just work stuff." She reached across the table, brushing her fingers against mine. "You'll feel better soon. Trust me." I nodded, swallowing the urge to scream. Because now I knew. The next retreat wasn't just another trip for her. It was the beginning of mine. Part 3. My wife's business trip was a luxury cult retreat. And I was the target. I used to think nightmares were the kind of thing you woke up from. But by the time I pieced together what my wife was truly involved in, sleep itself had become impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the white robe with my name stitched across the chest. I heard the chanting from those grainy videos. I saw her smiling face, luminous and proud, as she announced me to her congregation. The sickest part was how normal she still acted at home. She kissed me in the mornings, asked if I wanted extra coffee, reminded me to pick up milk. She laughed at sitcom reruns with me on the couch. To anyone watching, we were just another happy couple. But beneath that veneer of normality was a reality so twisted it made my skin crawl. I wasn't her partner. I was her assignment. And time was running out. The flash drive I'd made from her laptop became my lifeline. Late at night, when she slept, I locked myself in the garage, scrolling through the files by the dim light of a single lamp. The more I uncovered, the more horrific it became. There were documents mapping out stages of preparation. Stage 1, union. Stage 2, assimilation. Stage 3, awakening. Stage 4, ascension. Each stage had tasks attached to it. My tasks: union, marriage. Check. Assimilation, trust, vulnerability, emotional binding. Check. Awakening, exposure to the path, introduction to rituals. Pending. Ascension, full induction as vessel. Upcoming. It wasn't just a cult, it was a machine. And I had been inside it for a decade without even realizing. One night, while flipping through a series of audio recordings, I found one labeled with my initials. My heart seized as I clicked play. It was Emily's voice. Calm, steady, almost reverent. He resists nothing. His heart is loyal, his faith in me unshaken. He is nearly ready. Soon, he will walk willingly into the light. The vessel does not need chains when love binds him stronger. My stomach lurched. I slammed the laptop shut, while rising in my throat. She'd been reporting on me for years. Every weakness, every habit, every blind spot. And worse, she was right. I had trusted her completely, loved her completely. I was the perfect mark. I started documenting everything. I bought a cheap burner phone, used it to take photos of the files, the letters, the photographs from the storage unit. I wrote notes by hand, paranoid that anything digital could be traced. But the more evidence I gathered, the heavier the danger pressed on me. Because I couldn't shake the feeling that she knew, that she sensed my distance, my fear. Her questions became sharper. You've been quiet lately. Work stress. You've been sleeping in the garage a lot. Everything okay? Are you hiding something from me? I lied through clenched teeth, but her eyes lingered longer each time. She was watching me as closely as I watched her. One evening, while she was cooking, I saw her phone light up on the counter. A text message preview flashed before disappearing. Retreat confirmed. He must come. No delays. My blood iced. That night, I pretended to be asleep when she slipped out of bed. I waited, heart hammering, then followed her down the hall. She was in the study. The door cracked just enough for me to see her kneeling on the rug, whispering a prayer in that strange, sing-song cadence I'd overheard before. In front of her was the white robe. My robe. She cradled it like it was sacred. I backed away silently, pulse roaring in my ears. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. Pancakes, coffee, a kiss on the cheek. But I couldn't shake the image of her whispering over that robe. I knew I couldn't do this alone anymore. I had evidence, but no plan, no allies, no idea how far this cult's reach extended. So I reached out to someone I hadn't spoken to in years, my brother, Michael. He'd always been suspicious of Emily. called her too perfect, said something about her never sat right. We'd fought about it years ago, and I'd cut him off for doubting her. When he picked up the phone, his voice was wary. "Didn't expect to hear from you. I need your help," I said, my voice shaking. "And I need you to promise you'll believe me, no matter how crazy it sounds." By the time I finished explaining, there was a long silence. Finally, he said, "Jesus Christ, you married into a cult." I laughed bitterly. "Yeah, and now they want me." Michael didn't hesitate. "Send me everything. The files, the photos, all of it. If this is real, we need backup. Police, FBI, someone." I hesitated. The cult was wealthy, powerful. What if they had law enforcement in their pocket? What if going public too soon backfired? Still, I sent him a portion of the files, just enough to prove I wasn't insane. His reply came an hour later. "This is bad. Really bad. Don't confront her. Whatever you do, don't go to that retreat." I stared at the message, my hands trembling. The problem was, I didn't know if I had a choice. That week, Emily grew more affectionate than ever, cooking my favorite meals, buying me little gifts, touch lingering longer than usual. It felt less like love and more like conditioning. Every smile was a lure, every kiss a trap. Then one night, as we sat on the couch, she rested her head on my shoulder and whispered, "I want you to come with me next time." My chest tightened. "Come where?" She smiled softly. "On my trip. It's time you saw what I've been working on all these years. Time you met the people who've changed my life." I forced a laugh. "Another corporate retreat? Sounds boring." Her eyes gleamed. "Not this one." After she went to bed, I locked myself in the bathroom and texted Michael. "She wants me to come." His reply was immediate. "Don't. That's the trap. That's where they'll try to take you. We need to stop this before then." But how? How could I stop a group I barely understood, one my wife seemed to be embedded in at the highest level? I looked at myself in the mirror. Hollow eyes. Haunted. For 10 years, I thought I was building a marriage, a life, a future. But now I knew the truth. I wasn't a husband. I was a vessel. And unless I found a way out, the next retreat would be my last. Part 4. My wife's business trip was a luxury cult retreat, and I was the target. By the time Emily finally asked me to join her, I already knew it was coming. I had seen the signs in the emails, the notes, the videos. The awakening stage was about to begin. I'd been groomed for years, prepared like livestock, and now they were ready to lead me into the slaughterhouse, or worse, into their throne room. The worst part? She was radiant when she asked me, sitting across from me at breakfast, eyes shining, hands trembling just slightly as she reached for mine. "It's time," she whispered. "You'll understand everything soon. I want you to meet them. I want you to see the truth." I forced a smile, squeezing her hand. "Okay," I said. "I'll go." She looked like she might cry with joy. Inside, I was dying. That night, I called Michael again. "She's taking me. End of the month." "You can't go," he hissed. "I'm telling you, man, if you step into that villa, you won't come back the same. Or you won't come back at all." "I know," I whispered. "But if I don't go, she'll know I'm suspicious. If I play along, maybe I can get more evidence. Enough to shut them down for good." Michael cursed under his breath. "You're gambling with your life." "I've been gambling it for 10 years, I said flatly. The weeks leading up to the retreat were the longest of my life. Emily was almost giddy, humming while she packed, cooking elaborate dinners, holding me tighter at night. She thought she had won, that her decade-long mission was finally complete. Meanwhile, I was building my insurance. I printed documents, copied videos, organized photos. I wrote everything down in detail: names, dates, ceremonies. I stored it all in a secure cloud folder under Michael's control. If anything happened to me, he promised he would go straight to the police, the media, anyone who would listen. But still, I wasn't sure it would be enough. Because if the path of ascension had money, power, and influence as deep as Emily's files suggested, exposing them wouldn't just be dangerous. It would be suicidal. The night before the retreat, Emily gave me a gift: a long white box tied with gold ribbon. She placed it in my lap, smiling softly. "Open it," she urged. Inside was the robe. My robe. The same one I had found in the package weeks earlier. White silk, golden embroidery, my name stitched across the chest. Tears pricked her eyes as she whispered, "You're ready." I forced a smile, my throat burning. "It's beautiful." She kissed me, long and slow. "Tomorrow, your life begins." The next day, we drove up the coast together. She was electric with excitement, talking nonstop about how my world was about to change, how everything I thought I knew was just a shadow of the truth. I nodded, smiled, played the role of wide-eyed husband. But in my pocket was a tiny recorder, and in the glove compartment, hidden under papers, was a burner phone linked directly to Michael. When we reached the villa, my breath caught. It was even more surreal up close. Towering gates swung open as if by magic, revealing manicured gardens, fountains spraying arcs of crystalline water, white-robed figures drifting through the grounds like ghosts. The ocean crashed below the cliffs, the sound a constant, haunting backdrop. Emily squeezed my hand. "Welcome home." Home. The word made me shudder. They treated me like royalty. Robes draped over my shoulders, wine pressed into my hands, strangers smiling at me as if I were their savior. "The vessel," they whispered as I passed. "The vessel has come." Emily glowed with pride. She never left my side, introducing me to everyone, guiding me through the ceremonies. I played along, my recorder capturing every word, every chant, every whispered pledge of loyalty. But beneath the surface of ritual and reverence was something darker. Late that night, they gathered in the great hall, candles flickering, the air thick with incense. At the front stood the high ascendant, a tall man in golden robes, his face hidden behind a sun-shaped mask. He raised his arms, and the crowd fell silent. "Tonight," he intoned, "we welcome the vessel, chosen through union, prepared through devotion, delivered through Helena." The crowd erupted in cheers. My chest tightened. I glanced at Emily, Helena, and saw her eyes shining with tears. The high ascendant gestured for me to step forward. My legs moved woodenly. "Through you," he said, his voice booming, "we ascend." The next moments blurred. Chanting, hands on me, wine forced to my lips. I swayed, dizzy, whether from the drink or the weight of terror, I couldn't tell. And then Emily's voice, clear and strong, "He is ready." The crowd roared. I forced myself to stay calm, to remember the recorder in my pocket, to remember Michael waiting on the other end of the burner phone I had hidden in the bathroom earlier, broadcasting everything. This was evidence. This was proof. I just had to survive the night. But then the high ascendant leaned close, his mask nearly touching my face. "You doubt," he whispered so only I could hear. "We see it in your eyes." My heart stopped. Emily's hand tightened around mine. Too tight. Almost painful. "He's ready," she insisted. The high ascendant chuckled. "Perhaps. Tomorrow we shall see." And just like that, the ceremony ended. The crowd dispersed. Emily led me back to our lavish guest room, still radiant, still beaming with pride. I collapsed on the bed, feigning exhaustion. She kissed my forehead, whispered, "Sleep well, my love. Tomorrow, you'll understand everything." When the door closed behind her, I sat up, shaking. Tomorrow. Whatever tomorrow meant, I wouldn't live to see it, not as myself. I made my move in the dead of night. I crept to the bathroom, retrieved the burner phone, and texted Michael. Now, within an hour, flashing lights cut through the darkness outside the villa. Shouts, sirens, the sound of boots pounding on marble floors. Emily burst into the room, panic in her eyes. "What did you do?" she hissed. I stood, trembling, the robe still clutched in my hands. "I know everything, Helena. The files, the photos, the recordings. I sent it all. It's over." Her face twisted, something between fury and heartbreak. "You don't understand. You were chosen. This was your destiny. You threw it away." The door crashed open. Police stormed in, weapons drawn. Emily screamed as they pulled her to the ground, cuffing her wrists. I just stood there, frozen, the world spinning. In the weeks that followed, everything unraveled. The path of ascension wasn't just a cult, it was an empire. Money laundering, blackmail, human trafficking hidden beneath layers of spiritual nonsense. My evidence, combined with Michael's persistence, had been enough to spark a full investigation. Dozens of arrests, assets frozen, properties seized. Emily, Helena, was at the center of it all. When they asked me if I wanted to see her in custody, I said no. I couldn't bear it. Not after 10 years of lies. Sometimes I wonder if any of it was real. Did she ever love me, even for a moment? Or was every smile, every kiss, every whispered, "I love you," just another step in their grand design? I'll never know. What I do know is this: my marriage wasn't a marriage at all. It was a recruitment, a mission, a cage. And by some miracle, I broke free.